Hello and welcome to Cooking Classic. I'm Kathy Coslett and I am here on the set of Cooking Classic at the Culinary Arts Institute at Luzerne County Community College in Nanticoke, Pennsylvania. And Chef Jonathon Merrick has been kind enough to join us today. Hi, Jonathon.
Hi.
Thanks so much. He comes from Kevin's Bar and Restaurant in Kingston, Pennsylvania. One of my favorites, I have to add. Yeah, you do a terrific job.
Thank you.
Really do.
Appreciate it.
And you know what? Cooking has really been a passion of yours your entire life, hasn't it? This started very young for you, right?
Started young, yeah.
How old were you when you actually first entered a cooking school?
I'm not sure. I could say ninth grade. I'm not sure exactly what. So ninth grade we began.
And that was at Wilkes-Barre Votech, and then where did you move from there?
After graduating Wilkes-Barre Votech, I that year went on to enroll in the Culinary Institute of America.
And that's in Hyde Park, New York, right?
Yes, Hyde Park, New York.
So that's the big school, isn't it, for cooking?
Yeah.
One of the big ones, right?
Yeah, they say it's the best.
Yeah. And then from there, the cooking career has taken you all over the world. I am absolutely amazed. Tell us some of the places that you've been.
Halfway through the CIA course, we do an internship. I chose Boca Raton, Florida, the Boca Raton Resort and
Smart
Club.
guy.
Yeah, beautiful. Huge resort, tremendous amount of culture, and there were many outlets throughout the resort. And when I finished, I went back to school, finished. Upon graduating, I worked in Manhattan, worked in Midtown.
That must have been crazy, busy.
Yeah, I got out of my system. It was, I could do it. You know, I had fun. I learned a lot. I worked a lot. I never worked that hard in my life. You know.
And I think he's thinking, and I don't want to work that hard again, right?
No, it was fun.
Okay, and then from there you were in Boston, correct?
Yeah, I spent some time in Boston.
Okay, and then most recently?
Most recently, I spent some time in Italy, Tuscany.
Okay, that's amazing. He actually lived on an olive oil farm, is that correct?
It was an olive oil estate, and we lived towards the bottom, and on the top it was a cooking school. So I was a chef instructor, but I also got to, I was teaching classes, but I was also learning a tremendous amount. I was traveling in the area, Lucca being the province, and
that must have been an amazing experience.
it was, absolutely.
And we're lucky enough that he is bringing one of those recipes to us today on Cooking Classic, and that is Farmers Market Tagliatelle. And we'll be back right after this.
Hello, I'm Erica, a culinary student here at Luzerne County Community College with your culinary tip of the day. Today we're going to be making fresh whipped cream. This is something I learned here at the Culinary Institute. It's really easy and delicious. So what you're going to do is you're going to take 2 cups of heavy cream in your stainless steel mixer with a wire whip attachment. If you don't have a standing mixer, you could use just a bowl and a whisk or a hand mixer, whatever is easier for you. And you're going to do this on medium speed until it starts to form your soft peaks. Once it starts to form soft peaks, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of powdered sugar, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then you're going to beat that until it gets a stiff peak. Okay, and we're right there now. And you can tell that it's a stiff peak. And when you take it off, the peaks stand up straight, like that. They don't fall over. Okay. Do I have whipped cream all over? Okay. I want to try and move this out of here a little bit. All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a strawberry shortcake for you. We have some pound cake and some fresh strawberries. A dollop of fresh whipped cream, and then your 2 mint leaves. And that's your culinary tip of the day. Bon appetit.
Welcome back to Cooking Classic. I'm Kathy Coslett, and this is Chef Jonathon Merrick. He joins us from Kevin's Bar and Restaurant in Kingston, Pennsylvania. And he brought with him today a recipe from Tuscany, where he spent a little time. And the recipe is Farmer's Market Tagliatelle, correct?
Yes.
So explain it to us a little bit and give us a little overview of what you plan on cooking today.
Okay, so Farmer's Market Tagliatelle. I'm using everything that we're using today is actually I purchased at the farmer's market yesterday. We're using in the sauce 4 different tomatoes. We have some beans, some wax beans, some fresh corn, which is at its peak, and some fresh garlic.
So what is your advice in terms of vegetables? Can you switch these out depending upon since these are summer vegetables, so what would you do in the fall or the winter? Are there things you would stay away from, things you might add?
Yeah, Tagliatelle is actually from the region of Emilia Romagna, which is the birthplace of bolognese. So you can serve tagliatelle with a bolognese sauce in the winter or in the fall, or any kind of braised item. The pasta is it's really versatile.
Okay, and then in the fall you mentioned maybe stay away from corn.
I would stay away from corn in the fall. Tomatoes you can get year round, although they're not as great in the fall in the colder seasons.
Okay, let's get started with this. And while you're cooking, maybe let's talk a little bit about the fresh vegetables and fertile grounds and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Okay. What do you need first?
Well, let's talk about the tomatoes.
Okay.
I'm using 4 different kind of tomatoes.
Yeah.
These are cherry tomatoes. The difference between cherry and grape, these have more juice, they're a little more soft, and that's why I chose them. Grape tomatoes are a little more firm, and these are actually Italian ice. They're a Mexican-born hybrid.
Get out.
Very sweet.
I love those. Yeah, that's a good snacking
Yeah,
tomato, isn't it? It's
absolutely.
like candy.
Then you have your yellow tomatoes, super sweet, and these are Kamado, I believe. So I like the contrast.
These
I think
look firmer
they are
than all
definitely
the others.
Absolutely. So it gives a little more texture.
Okay.
So I'm going to start. I have a saute pan, a large saute pan. It's about on medium heat, and I'm just going to take extra virgin olive oil. And if you feel like
and
your
you
pan,
say extra virgin.
yeah, there's mixed opinions. In the chef world, some chefs do not cook with extra virgin olive oil. When I moved to Italy and I lived in Italy, we cooked with extra virgin olive oil. I don't have a problem with it.
Is it any different maybe than what we get here, or not because they're imported?
Well, it's just they have an abundance of it.
Okay.
There's so much readily available. You don't often see.
And you don't notice really any difference in the taste of cooking? Regular olive oil, a little more heavy?
I'm not cooking with a lot of heat. If you were cooking with a lot of heat, I would stay away from extra virgin.
Okay.
Because it has a low smoke point.
Okay.
But if you're just going to do in this case, a delicate saute, I feel no problem with it.
Okay.
So my olive oil is a little too hot. So all I did, I put the pan off to the side, let it cool off a little bit.
So just that short period of time and it was a little too hot?
Absolutely.
And how do you know if it's a little too hot?
I could just tell. If I put my face over it, I could feel the heat.
Okay.
So.
All right.
This recipe yields approximately 1 portion. I used about 1 clove of garlic, like a medium-sized clove of garlic.
I'll take that. I always love the way that smells.
I always season with kosher salt.
Okay. Why kosher?
Kosher has a coarse texture, so it allows you to have more control on how much you're putting in the dish versus an iodized salt, which tend to over-season with iodized. Now the garlic got brown fairly quickly, so at this point I could add my tomatoes.
And so that's it. The garlic's only there. You begin adding the other vegetables when the garlic turns a little brown.
As soon as you see it turn a little slightly brown, you don't want it to get any darker than
that can burn quickly, can it?
Absolutely, yeah.
And then really you need to start all over, right? When that happens, like no saving that one.
Nah.
Okay.
Just really nice colors. I think
that's beautiful.
Yeah. When making this dish too, be conscious of how much salt you're using, because we're going to be blanching our pasta later on in salted water, and it's better. You can add, you can't take out.
Okay.
So, tomatoes, we can let this simmer slowly. I'm going to add my corn.
Now you left that in the strips. You didn't break it up. Was that for a reason, or you're just going to let that happen in the pan on its own?
Well,
you know what I mean.
So what I did with the corn, I blanched it for about 3-4 minutes. And I put it in ice water to shock it to stop the cooking.
Okay.
And I sliced it off the cob. I think it looks nice.
Yeah,
and
it does.
I think it eats nicer when you have the pieces like
It
this.
really is
you know?
nice.
So the corn's in. This sauce is, it is really simple, and these ingredients are so fresh and so nice that you don't have to do much to them, and that's like a lot. You hear it all the time in Italian cuisine. It's all about the ingredients. The sauce at this point, I could add my beans,
Okay.
and you can put the sauce off to the side, and we're move into making the pasta.
Okay, and when we return, we're going to make the pasta that this is going to accompany. So we will be back. Don't go away.
Are you looking for a college that's right for you? Luzerne County Community College has more than 100 majors to choose from, convenient class times, and many online courses. Transfer your degree and continue your education at a four-year college. Work with modern equipment found in the professional world, all at the area's lowest tuition. Make it happen at Luzerne County Community College.
Make your life better by Degrees. Choose from over 100 academic and career programs. Go to an accredited college at the area's lowest tuition. Earn your degree or transfer your credits to a four-year college or university. Take your life to the next level. Achieve your career goals and reach your fullest potential at
Luzerne County Community College.
Welcome back to Cooking Classic. I'm Kathy Coslett, and this is Chef Jonathon Merrick. And if you're just tuning in, you tuned in at a great time because Chef Merrick is making farmer's market tagliatelle, and he's about to make homemade pasta. And I noticed that you already put the well in that flour.
Yes, cup of flour,
Okay.
well in the center, and so we're going to be using all-purpose flour, and 1 egg and 1 egg yolk. I have kosher salt, extra virgin olive oil, and a little spring water. I have 1 egg and 1 egg yolk, and I'm going to put that in the center.
Oh, okay.
It's important, when you're doing this, to season everything first. You don't want to put too much water, and you definitely don't want to put too much oil. So that's about a tablespoon or a teaspoon of water. I should say a tablespoon, and about a tablespoon of olive oil. And at this point, I'm gonna whisk it with the fork. I like using a fork.
Yeah, I do too.
You just really have to take your time. The main thing you want to watch for is don't break your well. If you break your well, you're gonna have some trouble. Once the dough comes together, I don't have to worry about my well as much.
So that's okay. You just keep rebuilding the wall as it's coming apart,
Right.
and moving with it. Now, when people are going to make different types of pastas, maybe with a butternut squash or something, when does all of that come in?
Oh, butternut squash pasta?
Yeah.
Always when you're going to add, like we used to do in Italy, we did a spinach, we did a Swiss chard, we would do tomato. You could take tomato paste, it'll give it a red color,
Oh,
which is
neat.
nice. Squid ink, all those color, we would add that in the beginning with the wet ingredients. So you would mix your eggs, your water,
Okay.
and then say you had spinach puree, I would mix that with the wet. And
Okay. Does that change the amounts of oil or water or anything, or?
well,
Not really?
tomato paste will dry it.
Okay.
It'll become more dry. When you use spinach is mostly water, so you have to factor in that you might need more flour when you're using something more. with
Okay,
more
so
water
just
content.
be careful, and can you change then can you add in as you go along? You know, better to put less in, as
Well,
in most, or
Absolutely. And
Okay.
when you're making pasta fresh like this by hand with a fork, your wet ingredients are going to tell you how much flour you're going to need. So as
Okay.
soon as you find the consistency of dough that you're looking for, you could stop and get rid of the excess flour. If you're doing it in a food processor,
Yeah, you
have
don't
to
know
follow
that.
a recipe. So that's
Okay.
another reason I like to make it by hand.
That's really a good point.
Yeah.
That's really a good point.
So this dough is starting to sort of come together. Pasta I like to make, if not daily, every other
Okay.
day.
Okay.
You can freeze pasta.
Right.
It freezes very well. So what you would do is portion it, toss it with flour, make little mounds, little
Right.
bundles, and freeze it. And it'll last for a few
Okay.
weeks.
Can you explain how that feels when you know that that's
Yeah,
ready?
it's still sticking to my
Sticky,
hand, so
I
I know
see.
it's not.
Okay.
I mean, it's close, but it's not there yet.
Now, what about when people say, "Oh, don't eat it too much. You're going to make it tough. You're going to make it hard to eat. It's not going to be as good."
Yeah, that and over flouring. So if you
Okay.
add too much flour, you're gonna have a hard time putting it through the machine. And if you over knead it, a solution to that, if you run into that problem, would be to maybe let it rest longer.
Oh, okay.
So what we'll do is we'll make our pasta dough and then put it in the fridge and let it rest for like a half hour to an hour.
Okay.
And that allows everything to kind of relax. The dough relaxes.
And this is important, correct? This damp cloth.
Oh yeah, when you're resting, I usually would put it in a plastic bag or make sure you wrap it with plastic wrap while you're letting the pasta rest in the refrigerator.
And why is that? You don't want it to dry
Yeah,
out?
if the top dries and gets like a crust on it, when you're putting it through the machine, it'll tear the dough and you won't be able to roll it out. To be honest.
Okay, work your magic.
All right. See, this is good. It's sticky, but it's not to the point where it's sticking to my hands as much as the other dough.
And that really is just a lot of practice, isn't it, to get used to really what it feels like?
Yeah,
So the more you do this, obviously, like anything else, the better you get.
Right. I always described it as the texture of Play-Doh.
Oh, all right.
And even if it is a little wet, like this is a little sticky for what we want to do, but you can add flour as you're rolling it through the machine, which is great.
Okay.
Now there's 6 settings. We're gonna start at a number 1,
Okay.
which is the most thick, and then we're gonna move on to a number 6.
Okay.
So before I put it through the number 1, I'm gonna roll it out a little bit.
And what should the thickness of it be the first time you put it through?
The first
like,
time?
what are you rolling to? Well, we can show everybody really when you pick it up. They'll see that.
Yeah,
That it's not paper thin,
at least
but
like a
it's-
centimeter or so. Yeah. All right. So here we are.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, if you take your dough and you hold it up, and you see sort of draping, that's how you know you're probably going to need some more flour. Now, every time you add flour, add just a dusting and then fold it, and always feed it into the machine with the folded end.
So the folded
Pointing up.
end last.
Right. If you'd like, you
Want me to?
the other way.
do-
There it is. And it's always good to have someone.
I'm just laughing. The other way, Kathy. The other way. So what were you going to say? It's always good to have someone.
A helper when
There
you're,
you go.
especially for me in the restaurant. It's a good 2-man job, you know. Until I'm comfortable with the dough, I want to keep it on 1 for like 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Am I going the wrong way
There
again?
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if your dough ends up odd shaped like that,
Uh-huh.
you could
Fold them in.
fold it like that, right?
Okay.
And feed it through the machine with the folded end pointing down. This will
Okay.
kind of
Folded
even
end
everything down.
All right.
There it is. Now I'm on a number 3.
3. All righty. You ready?
Now I'm going to tell you when to stop, and I'll show you why.
Okay.
So keep going. Right there. Now I'm going to
Wait.
take my end, right? I'm going to
Uh-huh.
leave about that much pasta. And I'm going to feed it through to create a belt.
Ready?
Yep.
No, I never saw that done before. Let's get a little harder to turn.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's all right. There we go.
So
Oh, that's neat.
So now I created a almost like a conveyor belt.
Yeah.
And if I feel like I need a little flour, I'll just put it at the bottom and it'll make its way throughout as I
That's really neat.
crank it through. We're on
Right
a number
there.
4 right now.
So bring it up to 5.
Now we're on 5. We're going to go all the way to 6, and then we are
So 1 rotation at 5.
correct.
Okay. And here's our edge. Oh, that looks so nice.
Yeah.
It really does. It's pretty.
And you'll notice it's not sticking.
No.
It has the perfect amount of
Okay.
flour. So I'll just cut it. You crank the rest of it through.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to cut this pasta about the length of the rolling pin, which gives me a good
Okay.
frame of reference. And then each layer, put a dusting of flour so that it doesn't stick.
Mm-hmm.
A little lighter than that. And then I'll keep pulling the dough and use that as that way of measuring. So I rolled it up. I made sure that I had layers of flour dusted in between.
Okay.
And now I'm going to just
Oh, that's great.
with a chef knife, I'm going to cut about a 1/4 inch.
This is terrific. There's no reason we can't all do this at home, right?
Yeah.
All right. They're your little pieces. We don't need those,
Yeah.
right? How about that? That looks wonderful.
You just want to make sure that you have a good amount of flour so that it doesn't stick. Before I put this in the water, I want to note that I'm going to use...
A little salt.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, here we go. And this will be finished in what, like 2 minutes?
Yeah, seconds. It doesn't take long at all. I would say a
Okay.
minute, give or take.
All right, and when we return, you are going to see the final product, and I can't wait. See you in a minute.
Make your life better by Degrees. Choose from over 100 academic and career programs at the area's lowest tuition. Achieve your career goals and reach your fullest potential at
Luzerne County Community College.
Thanks for staying with us. We are about to put the finishing touches on this pasta. The next step has to do with zucchini, doesn't it? Yellow
Yes.
and green.
So we made our pasta, we cut it. It went into the water for about 2 minutes, into the sauce. And I used we call it a Y peeler, but this is what the peeler looks like. And pick them up at any kitchen store.
Okay, and you just made really nice thin strips.
Yeah, like nice little ribbons.
Yeah,
And I peeled them down to the seeds. When I got to the seeds, I just discarded the center.
okay.
Same water that we blanched the pasta in.
Now you could actually put that in with the pasta if you wanted to, right?
Yeah, I probably should have. You
I
know,
distracted him.
they cook around the same time. So
Okay.
when you add your pasta, you can take your ribbons and add those in as well.
So that makes it a little bit easier
Yeah.
too, doesn't it?
2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah, okay. And then that's going to go right into this delicious looking pasta that he's made. It's incredible. So about how long, after you take the pasta out of the water, about how long is it in this, just to mix everything together? And should you be really careful about that?
Yeah, a lot of times I'll actually even mix all these ingredients in a bowl,
Okay.
a big metal bowl. A lot of We did that in Italy all the time.
Okay.
All their pastas were finished in bowls and seasoned in bowls with cheese and served family style, so that way you could dump your ingredients right into a big platter.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's terrific.
If you find that your pasta or your sauce looks a little dry, as long as your water's not too salty, you can take a ladle and sort of moisten it with some water. Because again, the cheese is going to dry all this
Right.
out.
Okay.
Now,
So we have zucchinis, we have 4 different kinds of tomatoes, we have green beans, corn, yellow beans, did I say?
wax beans?
Wax beans.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry about that.
I'm using only extra virgin olive oil because
Oh my
I
gosh.
like the benefits. But you could finish this dish with butter.
Okay.
Adds a nice layer to it.
Okay. And you did add a little extra virgin olive oil once
did.
it was all in there.
So basil, mint, chiffonade went in with the zucchini, and finally we're gonna add our
Okay.
cheese. I have Parmigiano Reggiano and Grana Padano.
Grana Padano, I
Grana
say.
Padano.
Grana Padano. You told me that is what? A little bit sweeter?
Yeah, they're both northern Italian cheeses, and they are, they both come in different lengths of aging. Grana Padano, to some, is a cheaper knockoff, but it's great in its own right. The difference being Grana Padano is more subtle. It's less nutty and less salty,
I'm going to taste it.
and it's preferred in
Okay.
dishes like risotto when you don't want to overpower.
Well, it's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the Grana Padano is a little bit less expensive than the Parmigiano Reggiano, only because the areas producing it are much larger.
Or what?
The areas producing Grana Padano cheese are much larger, which allows it to be a
okay.
little less expensive.
Okay.
So I just grated it with a microplane, and I'll finish it by tossing it right in.
Hey, that's pretty snazzy there. Look at him. That's great.
Now we can plate.
Oh, this looks amazing.
I mean, this too, would be great in a risotto. You could use the same ingredients. You can make risotto with this dish, and you don't have to make your own pasta. I mean, if time's an issue,
Okay.
I'll finish it with just a little more cheese
a
on
little more
top.
cheese. That's a great little grater too. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. This looks absolutely delicious, and I'm so glad you came in here to Cooking Classic, and
Glad you had me.
we'll see you at Kevin's.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks. And we will see you sometime soon, hopefully next week on Cooking Classic.